Hey there, and welcome to my channel. I'm Crafty Kathy. I'm the owner and creator of Kit's Vintage Farmhouse in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I am so happy and thankful that you stopped in to do some Christmas crafting with me today. I love Christmas. I love the whole season, and I have for you 30 of my most favorite DIYs for Christmas, and I hope you enjoy them. But before we start the DIYs, I totally forgot to mention that this is a compilation video, which means that I take a bunch of my favorite Christmas DIYs from different videos and compile them into one long video so you can watch hours of my Christmas DIYs if you wish. Now, they may not be in order because they are from different videos, but I guarantee you there's 30 there, and let's jump on in. In our first DIY, we're going to use some Christmas sheet music, and I wanted to stain it. Now, I'm going to stain mine with coffee, and I just wanted to show you guys how easy it is to do that. You basically just have to submerge your paper in coffee for 5 to 10 minutes. Now, I used instant coffee, but it does not matter if you use instant, regular, cold, or hot. This piece of paper just came out of the coffee, and as you see, it's still very wet. Now, I let mine air dry for just a few minutes. I don't think that you have to. The big important part is how you dry it. You're going to dry it in a preheated oven on 200 for 5 to 10 minutes, or you're going to use a hair dryer. Now, I used a hair dryer, and it turned out perfectly fine. I thought that I would just throw that in real quick because a lot of people were asking me how you stain paper with coffee. So I've got an 8x10 canvas frame from the Dollar Tree. I had already pulled off the canvas, so all we have is just the frame. I'm going to give it one coat of Waverly's Antique Wax, and then I'm just going to wipe off the excess with a baby wipe. After everything is finished up and dried, I'm going to take my little finger sander and go around and give this a really good sanding. I've got to cut my sheet music down so it will fit in the 8x10 the way I want it to. I wanted to use some cardstock behind this, so I just picked my cardstock out, I cut it out, and then I'm just going to use a glue stick to put my sheet music to my cardstock. Next, I take the cardstock and I'm just going to glue it to some foam core board that I had got at Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to lay everything out the way I want it and just glue it down with a little bit of hot glue. I picked out this gorgeous plaid ribbon, but it was way too thick. It was going to hide the words, "Oh Holy Night." So what I did was just cut off a small strip of it. I rolled it over on itself and glued it down. This is going to make it so much easier to work with. So now I just take my ribbon and I glue it around the top of the wreath. And then I'm going to take and glue my ribbon to my picture frame. Then I took some of the red Dollar Tree pit berries and I'm just going to wound them all the way around my wreath. And since the pit berries have wire inside them, you don't even have to glue anything down. Now I take and glue my wreath to my picture with just a couple little dots of glue. I don't want that wreath bobbing around. I take one of these little pre-made bows that I got from Walmart. They are red and black plaid, and I'm just going to glue that right to the top of my wreath. And then I go through and I pick out a small red bell and I glue that right in the center. Now I have two little picks that I purchased from Amazon, and they're so adorable, so I'm going to put them on the top with just a little bit of glue. Then for the finishing touch, I take just a little bit of my white chalk paint and I'm going to just barely put it on my branches and on my pine cones and just around my picture because it makes a beautiful snowy look. And that's all there was to this project. This turned out so pretty, and I'm just going to display it on an easel. I'd like to stop for just a moment and ask you guys to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. It really helps my channel, and it helps YouTube to notice me a little bit more. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I'd love to have you as part of my family. Hit that red subscribe button, and then there's a bell beside it, and if you click that and click the word all, YouTube's going to let you know every time I upload a video. This one is really simple, and it turns out really pretty. I've just got one of those new rounds that comes from the Dollar Tree, and I want to say they're probably about 12 inches. They might be 14, but I'm thinking more like 12. Anyways, I gave it a quick little sanding before I gave it one coat of my black chalk paint. Now, I'm going to try out the vinyl that comes from the Dollar Tree. I've got this red and black plaid that I think is beautiful. My thought was to put some on the bottom and some on the top, and my letters in the middle. Since it had this sticky back to it, it was so easy to use, and it was simple to put down on my little plaid. I just laid it across the bottom, cut off the excess, and I'm going to use my little finger sander here to just straighten up the edges. And then I thought that it would probably be best to put a little bit of Mod Podge because it is Dollar Tree, and I was afraid that it may not stick over time. So I just went over that whole little bottom part with my Mod Podge. Also, I thought that it might knock down some of that gloss off of that vinyl. But side note, it didn't do that, just to let you know. So here I am putting it on the top, doing the exact same thing, laying it down, cutting it, and then sanding it. On the Cricut Design Space, I found a decal that says Merry Christmas, y'all, so I'm going to put that right in the middle. I'm really into the messy bows right now. Not only are they beautiful and rustic and farmhouse, but they're super easy to make for someone that is bow challenged. So I just cut 3 different ribbon, and you cut it in an X formation, or you make an X formation with your ribbon, and then you just tie it up in the middle. It's so super simple. I've been buying a lot of my little picks at Walmart because they're only 98 cents a piece. And this is 2 of those. And I'm just going to glue them to the top. And then I take some of the pit berry because we're going to use this as the hanger. And I poke the 2 little holes back through the top. And we're just going to stick that pit berry through there as the hanger. And then I'm just going to stick my bow right in between these 2 little Christmas picks. I like to finish off my bows with some type of embellishment, so I stuck a little button right in the middle of it, and it is cute as a button. And then I just took some white chalk paint and kind of flocked it so it would have that snowy effect. I think that this is a good, economical, smart little wreath to use on your front door because it just cost a few dollars to make. And in that case, if it gets destroyed by the weather, it doesn't really matter that much because it didn't cost an arm and a leg to make. So let's jump into number 3. The Dollar Tree has these fish bowls in 2 different sizes. I got a small one and a medium one. And I'm going to take it outside and spray paint it with this Rust-Oleum frosted glass. And look how beautiful this turns out. I'm going to make a little snowman, and I'm going to start off with some of my buttons. I'm going to use black for his eyes, and I found 2 matching buttons, and those are going to be his eyes. And then I'm going to make his little mouth with the buttons also, and I used 5 buttons that were all the same. Now, the fishbowl snowman from Dollar Tree is no new thing, but I've never made one before, so I'm going to try my hand at it. I wasn't sure what to make the nose out of, but I thought I can probably at least try to draw a carrot, okay? I'm not a good artist, but I just made a little carrot nose, and then I'm going to use my Arteza orange color. I love the Arteza. They're very vibrant, and I just colored on a little carrot nose to the best of my ability. I add 3 of the larger buttons to his little belly. I'm going to use 2 strings of fairy lights that were sent to me by a company called On For You. I'm going to leave them in the description link in case you want some for yourself. And I'm going to put 1 whole string in the top and 1 string in the bottom. There are 20 lights on each strand, so it gave a beautiful warm glow. I found this little hat at the Dollar General. It still was only $1, and I'm just going to glue it to the top of my little snowman. And then I had a perfectly matching ribbon, and I thought this is going to be absolutely gorgeous for his scarf. So I just wrapped this little ribbon around his neck, and voila, you have the scarf. I've got one of these small red bells that I'm going to stick on his hat because it seemed like it just needed something. And then I added another bell down where the little scarf comes together and some berries. And then I also have this cute little embellishment that came from Walmart off of one of their ornaments. And I'm just going to add that right there where the scarf comes together too, because it perfectly matched his little hat. Now my snowman is going to sit on one of those trays that comes from the Dollar Tree. It's covered up right now, it's hard to see, but it was gold. I took it outside and spray painted it white. I put a piece of floral foam in the middle, and I just started attaching different picks from Amazon that I had ordered, and those are linked in the description box below, by the way. I also added another set of those fairy lights because I like everything to be lit up and beautiful. I added some pine cones from my yard, and I added a couple little bottle brushes that comes from the Dollar Tree also, and some red and white pip berries that come from one of my subscribers. I added some of that fake fluffy snow too, and I did put some inside the head and the body of the snowman also. And now it's time to stick him right up on the top. But I can't glue him down because remember, I do have to stick those lights in there and turn them off and on. So I just straightened up my last little bits and pieces of Frosty the Snowman, and he is finished. And I think he's adorable. Wow, we're already going into DIY 4. I got one of these gather signs that come from the Dollar Tree, and at first I tried to cut around that area that says gather, and then I just realized it wasn't going to work, so I just pulled that whole front piece off. And I'm measuring out to see how I need to cut because we're going to use some Dollar Tree wrapping paper for the backdrop of this picture. So I simply just cut my wrapping paper to the size that I needed, and then I painted everything on that frame black. The front side, back side, inside, outside. And then my little piece of wrapping paper is going to fit down in there perfectly. So I used some glue stick, and it just adhered nicely. Now I'm going to take this tumbling tower block and I painted it black because we're going to use it to have a little deer standing on it. And I'm going to use one of those little small deer that comes in a package from Dollar Tree. So I just glue the little block down and glue her on top of the block. Then I take one of the cards that come in my cardstock package from Amazon, and it had a cute little saying on it. It says, "Be glad and be of good cheer, for Christmas comes but once a year." And I glued that right to the top with a couple small beads of glue. Now I have some of this diamond wrap that was sent to me by Totally Dazzled, and I'm just going to use 2 of the little strands to glue all around my little saying so that it will stand out on the picture. I'm going to take 2 of the little bottle brush trees from Dollar Tree and just glue them one on each side of the little dough. Then I take one of my little pre-made ribbons from the Walmart and I'm just going to stick that at the top of my picture. To embellish my bow, right in the center, I put 2 little Christmas light decorations. I still felt like this picture needed something, so I found some little half beads that I had in my stash, and I already had them painted black, and I'm just going to put one on each of the corners of that little Christmas saying. Wow, we're already on our last DIY. Here goes number 5. I hope that you found all these DIYs are super easy to recreate, but this one especially is. I have one of those little sleighs from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to give it 1 coat of white chalk paint after I sand it down with my sanding sponge. I made sure that I got every little nook and cranny. And then I had already cut out this piece of paper. This is the snowman that everybody absolutely loved off of my thumbnail. I thought I had got it off of Canva, but it's actually pixabay.com. I'm going to leave that in the description box below. We are going to make a water slide decal. Now, we've done this in the past before, but I'm going to leave the information in the description box. All you have to do is order the special paper. It's very cheap, and you print whatever image off of your printer, which I picked the snowman. I'm submerging it in the water for only 60 seconds, and then you pull it away from the backing, and it just lays right down on that piece of paper. And then I'm drying it with a little towel. When everything was dry, I decided to do just a little bit of the Waverly Antique Wax and distress this, so I go all the way around it and then I wipe off the excess with a towel. I got a little pack of pine cones from the Dollar Tree, and it also had like a little sprig of pine and some berries in there, and I just kind of put all that together to make a very small little pick, and I put that on my sled. And in my stash, I found this stamp that said Joy. So I stamped that across the top, and then I'm going to take one of my little pre-made plaid bows that come from Walmart and stick that up in the upper hand corner, and then embellish that with a little bell. I'm going to do this Kirklands Merry Little Christmas sign. I started off with an 11 by 17 canvas frame, and I'm going to take the staples out and the canvas off of the front. So I simply flipped it over and I cut on the outside of the staples with my X-Acto knife, and then I'm going to pull that canvas right off. I went out to the garage and I grabbed a couple of these cedar slats that we had out in our wood pile. They're about the size and thickness of a ruler, which is exactly what I needed. I cut them down to 15 inches, and all I'm going to do is lay these out. I want that lighter, prettier side on the bottom. That's the part you're going to see. And I just used my hot glue gun to glue each one of these down. Super easy. Talk about rustic. These things came off of the back of an old bench and they were really rough, but hey, they make for some gorgeous wood, y'all. I take my white home decor chalk paint in the color White Adirondack, and I'm just going to give this one really good full coat. I made sure to get every nook and cranny, inside, outside, upside, downside. You know the drill. Then I went over to my Cricut and I pulled off the stencil. I'm going to use the Oracle Blue Vinyl Stencil 651, and I made these little trees on the bottom. It was the closest I could find, but I actually like the way it turned out better. And then I did the stencil part that says Merry Little Christmas. I used the font called Another Typewriter because it matched the font perfectly from the picture that I saw off Kirklands. I just pulled it out and weeded everything. Guys, this was the very first time that I've ever used the stencil vinyl. I've always just made the vinyl and used it, but I found it was very easy to make your own stencils, and so I see this in my future a lot. So I just laid my stuff down the way that I wanted it. I kind of centered the trees down on the bottom, and then the Merry Little Christmas goes up to the upper left-hand side, just like it did in the Kirkland's picture. I used my Waverly Crimson chalk paint, and I gave it one good full over coat. And I was very careful to paint away from the stencils. You don't want to push that paint up under the stencil. You kind of go away from that stencil. I always really fast forward over these parts, just like painting or whatnot, because everybody knows how to do that. But I figured that I would show you this little part because it's how I did the stencil. See, you just paint over the top of it, but you're very careful not to push that paint underneath. Here comes the best part, where you pull that stencil up and it just makes the most beautiful, crisp picture. Look how white and gorgeous and crisp that is.
Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be?
Last Christmas, I had bought a pack of wreaths off of Amazon. They came in a pack of 12. It's these little grapevine wreaths. Aren't they cute? Now, the green that's around it is just one of those little green pieces that comes from the Dollar Tree. There's like 12 of them in the package, and I just wrapped it around there to make it look like a little wreath. And then I'm just simply going to take a couple little pieces of berries from a little pick that I have, and I'll just kind of pull about 3 berries off at a time and just glue them down. And I have a little wooden reindeer piece that I got from a package from Walmart. There's 4 different ornaments in the package, and there's like a total of 20. And I'm just going to paint him. He did have a little hole where, you know, you can hang him up as an ornament, and I just filled that in, and I used the antique Waverly wax and put some on, and then just wiped it off with a baby wipe. I'm just going to glue him right down on the side of that wreath because I felt like it needed a little something. Then I'm just going to glue that wreath right to the side. It didn't have it in the picture at Kirkland's, but I thought it just seemed kind of plain not to have that. Now I'm just going to take my Arteza chalk paint markers, and I just use that to go around that wreath. It's white, and so I'm just putting like fake snow on it. And any little spots in my picture where it needed like a touch up of white, because there are 1 or 2 tiny little spots where that red paint kind of bled, and all I'm going to do is touch that up, and I'm going to go around my little reindeer and highlight him with that white marker because it makes him stand out. And that's all, guys. I actually like my version better than the Kirkland's version, and that little hole that is over the 3rd Christmas tree is just a hole in the wood. Let's go into DIY number 2, which is a pine and snowy berry picture arrangement. I started out with this picture that I had purchased from Goodwill, and it's brown, so we're going to give it a good coat of this sheepskin by Home Decor, which is kind of like an ivory color. It's an off-white. After I gave it one good coat, I was like, why am I sitting here painting this? I should have just took it outside and gave it a good spray paint. So that's exactly what I did after the first coat, because it was going to take a couple of coats to cover up that dark brown color. So I took it outside and I used my Rust-Oleum ×2 Ultra Matte White spray paint, and it came out beautiful. At first I did want to do an ivory color, but once I put the white on there, it's unmistakably Christmas and it's beautiful. And I got down inside there just a little bit. You're never going to see down in there, but you might just a little bit. So at this point, I just put some different florals in there. This is actually some florals from some old plants that I had. And then the picks are some picks that I purchased off of Amazon last Christmas. They're pine picks. And then these little white and red berries are compliments of Miss Rita, one of my subscribers. She sent me a box of goodies, and it had a ton of these little berry picks in there, and I absolutely love these, especially at Christmas time. Come on. And I've got these red berries that have like pine cones on them. It's really just some extra picks that I had laying around the house, but they absolutely matched the ones that was in the Kirklands picture. So I put them in there. I just fooled around with everything to try to figure out the arrangement that I wanted. And at first I put these darker red berries, almost a maroon color, but I changed those out in a minute. Now you know I had to put my Crafty Cathy touch on there, and I pulled up a picture of this truck off of Pixabay. And I'm using my Hippo water slide papers, which I love because you can make any image a decal. So what I did was I put it in the water for 60 seconds. Then I wet my little surface there. And I just did the water slide where you pull the paper out from under it. And it's a perfect little decal of the truck. I liked the one from Kirkland's, but I felt that it was really plain because it was just a white picture with the berries and the pine in there. And I thought, I've got to put a little Cathy-ness into this, you know. So I took and just wiped off any excess water, and then I started changing the berries out. Remember I told you I didn't really like those maroon colored berries because they were too dark for me. They didn't match the truck, so I put some brighter red ones in. And I even added like a little cotton pick. Then I decided to take some twine and go around the bottom of this picture 2 times. And then I also went around the top of it 2 times because it just gave it that little extra something that Cathy projects have to have. I cannot have just plain projects. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the Kirklands one, but like I said, I had to just Cathy it up a little bit, okay? So then I just burn off all the little fuzzies. And then I had a little wooden snowflake that came out of some little snowflakes and things, little ornaments that I had purchased off of Etsy. They're very small. They go great for different types of embellishments. It's just tiny. All I did was just glue this right underneath that twine, and it almost looked like it was hanging off of it like a beaded necklace. And here's my version. I really love these Hippo water slide decals since I found them because you can put that little red truck, which everybody seems to love, on anything. Molly, I know that you're loving this one, girl. Let's go into DIY number 3. This one was super easy. Christmas begins with Christ, and I couldn't agree more. So all I had was 3 pieces of like extra wood. Now, I had purchased a box of all these different pieces of wood. I think they kind of came from kids blocks or something. It's been years and I didn't know what to do with it. Well, guess what? I found something to do with it. So I used my crimson color by Waverly, and I just gave it one good coat, and that's the top block. And then I dried it and set it aside. I sand down the second block, which is going to be white, and I use my Home Decor white Adirondack, and I give it one good coat of that. And then I do the same, dry it, and set it to the side. Then for the bottom block, all I had was acrylic paint, so I used Apple Barrel's color called Christmas Green, and it took about 3 coats to actually get it covered. You just have to make sure that you dry it all the way between each coat. I purchased an SVG off of Etsy, and it was only 95 cents of this little nativity scene, and I printed it out on my Cricut, and we're going to place that on the very top block, just like in the picture of the Kirklands version. It came off so pretty and crisp. And then for the second block, we have red color, and it says Christmas, and it is the exact same writing that comes from the Kirklands version. This one is from the font called Magnolia Sky. Then the last part says begins with Christ, and it is also from Magnolia Sky. Look how beautiful and crisp when it all comes off. Oh, it's so pretty. And this was such an easy project, y'all, for it to be Kirklands. So I stacked everything up the way that I wanted it. And we're simply just going to glue the blocks together. Then I just sanded off a couple little rough spots that needed to be sanded. Of course, I wanted to do a little Kathy touch to it, and I found these picks at Walmart for just 98 cents. They already have out their Christmas stuff at my local Walmart. And if you'll look, that little reindeer and snow that just disappeared in the little box, those are the ornaments I was telling you about earlier. So I just took one little sprig of pine on each side and glued it down. And then I took some berries off of that sprig and cut just a couple little berries off of each one and glued those down. It also had a very small pine cone, which I ended up putting on the right-hand side on the top of those berries. And I like everything to have a snowy finish, so I took my paintbrush and a little bit of that white Adirondack and just kind of ran it over the pine cone and the pieces of pine to create a snowy look. And here's what we got. This is gorgeous, y'all. This one was probably, out of all of them, my favorite. Let's go into DIY number 4. It's going to be another sign that says, the most wonderful time of the year. These are boards that actually go, it's wood that actually goes on the wall, and they were 48 inches long, so I cut them in half because the actual sign was a 14 by 24. Mine just so happens to be a 16 by 24. So what I did was cut 3 of those boards in half to make them 24 long. And I simply just cut off 3 smaller pieces of wood, which I've got here, and I'm just gluing that down to the back so that I can create a good, solid structure for this sign. And I have an electronic stapler that shoots little brad nails, so I stuck 2 nails at least in each one of those so that we can have a really good firm foundation to start with. My sign naturally came in this beautiful gray color, and the sign in the picture is more of a brownish color, but I didn't want to touch it. I love this gray color. So what I did was took just a little bit of the antique Waverly wax, and I went all around the perimeter, all around the sides, and just kind of ran it in the center part just ever so slightly to give it a rustic, roughed up look. Then on my Cricut, I used the Smart Vinyl, and I'm using my Cricut Explorer 3 that Cricut actually sent me. And the first part that I wanted to put down was the word wonderful, because it's the very center part of the sign, and we definitely want that to be the main part. The font that I used for the word wonderful was Elegant, or Elegance. I think it was Elegant. And then the others, I used another typewriter. That was the version that I used. And then the word It's The is just that very first one that pops up called Cricut Sans, I think. It's just a basic, just small, thin letters. It says It's The. And then the words most and time of the year are all from the font called Another Typewriter. You'll see it looks like a big fat typewriter wrote it out. I hope this Christmas music is getting you guys in the mood, because it's definitely getting me in the mood. I mean, I was telling you guys before, it's 80 degrees and we're still swimming, but when I listen to Christmas music, I can't help but get excited for the season and tap my toes and sing along. I know that everybody loves Kirklands, but guys, I hope that you can see from this video how easy it is to recreate their stuff. You don't have to go and spend tons of money on these signs. You can make them yourself. Like this sign here, they're asking $69.99 for. I probably have, I don't know, $6 in this whole sign. And the little red sign, they were asking $29.99 for it. I might have $3 in that one. The little wood sign that I made, the Christ Begins with Christmas, maybe $1. And $2 in the picture, because that's what I paid for the picture. If you want to count the florals, let's say $5. Okay? I mean, everything in this video has been super inexpensive and so easy to make. I really hope you guys are getting some good ideas and inspiration. So for me, I had to Kathy this up. I just could not leave it plain like the sign had. So I have this pick that comes from Walmart, and it had an apple on it, which I didn't like because it looked cheap. So I took that one off and put my own apple on that I got from Amazon. And I just stuck that pick on the side, and I added a couple extra pine cones to it. And anything that I talk about that I say I got from Amazon, it's in my Amazon store in case y'all are interested. All you have to do is go down in the description box and it's down there. So I kind of fooled around with the placement of things and added, like I said, here's the little apple that I added because it looks prettier. The other one was just so fakey looking. And I added one more pine cone to this one. Then after that, I just put a little bit of that white Adirondack paint on my little chippy brush and just kind of ran it through all the bristles of that pine pick and over the apple, over the berries, and then over different parts of the sign because, like I said, I like it to have that snowy effect. And this one is complete, guys. Wow, we are headed into DIY number 5. And this is going to be our very last one. This one's super, super easy. This one is an ornament. I saw these little pictures on Pinterest that showed different ways that you can make the ornaments. And all it was is a piece of wood. It's just a very small little piece of wood. It's like 8 inches long by 1 inch. Now, I had this little ornament that I had purchased at the thrift store for 50 cents. It already said Santa on it, but we didn't want that. And I painted it with 2 coats of my Waverly Red Crimson paint. Each ornament had different words, and I picked the word believe, and I used the font called Candle Mustard. I think it's really pretty. It has that swoosh at the front of the B, and it's so pretty. And I printed that out on my Cricut, and we're just going to place this right down in the center of that red block. Then I just took some of my jute twine that I got from Dollar Tree, and all you have to do is wrap it around the end 2 times, and then I glued it. Then I pulled enough over so that it would have a spot to hang and wrapped it on the other side 2 times and glued it down. And that's it to this ornament, guys. This was super easy, super simple, and I'm not kidding you. It took me probably less than 5 minutes. Now, you could make a ton of these with just small pieces of wood, and you could fill your whole tree within 30 minutes. They had all kinds of Christmassy words. Then I just glued a little wooden Santa hat that I got off of Amazon. I don't have any footage of the Squawk Squad this week, guys, but I do have something that I hope you'll like.
Hi, y'all, I'm Pamela Pupkin, and you're about to do Pamela Pupkin's Halloween workout. Woo! This is Alan. All right, come on. Shake off the Skittles, shake off the Reese's, shake off those candy corns. Now ride the witch's broom, ride the witch's broom. Ride the witch's broom. Ride the witch's broom. Squash Satan, kick him in the crotch. Squash Satan, kick him in the crotch. Squash Satan, kick him in the crotch. Kick that Satan in the crotch. Zombies to the left. Zombies to the right. Zombies to the left. Zombies to the right.
Who needs bloopers when you ain't got a lick of sense? Hey, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I'd love for you to subscribe and become a part of our family. Don't forget to give me a big thumbs up because it really helps my channel get pushed out there so more people can see me. So let's go into DIY number 1. I'm started off with 6 of those big jumbo size paint stir sticks that you get from Walmart. I'm going to put a scrap piece on the back right here, and it's only temporary. It's just to hold it together so that I can stain it. I make sure that everything is lined up correctly right here, and all we're going to do is give it a really quick stain with my Waverly Antique Wax. I'm going to go over the whole thing with my wax, and then I'm just going to wipe off the excess with a baby wipe. I put a very light coat of the Ivory Waverly chalk paint on after I got everything wiped down with the baby wipe. And I did kind of a wishy-washy coat. That means it's not a full coverage. If you see, I just left a couple little bare spots because it just makes it easier to distress in the end. And now I have this beautiful napkin. Look how pretty this is. And we just want to cut off one square. I wet my fingers with Mod Podge and then I pull it down to where it's just 1 ply. Now this one had 3 plies, so I had to take it all the way down to 1. And then I like to just wet the end of a very light, small paintbrush and just go around the edges where I'm wanting to pull it apart. I want nothing except for the picture of the truck and the puppy dogs and the Christmas tree going up the top. So I like to use my fingers to pull it apart. That's why I use the water, because I don't like clean edges. I don't like a perfect square. It just makes it look more natural when it's not. I put my Mod Podge down and we're simply going to lay our picture down on the top of that. And I always start with the middle. I have my saran wrap or plastic wrap already waiting for me. So it's very easy to make that transition because you have to have that plastic wrap if you don't want wrinkles. That saran wrap helps that napkin not stick to your fingers. And I always start off in the center and then I very slowly go, towards the edges. And then I use my little Mod Podge roller. And like I've told you guys before, you don't even have to have a roller. You can even use like a, cup, like a glass from your kitchen. Just something with that edge on it where you can kind of roll it out. It helps. And I've heard people that said they didn't have any saran wrap on hand, so they can even use a baggie. Anything that's plastic, just so that napkin does not stick to your fingers, because it will pull it away and mess up your picture quicker than anything. And guys, there's not a single wrinkle in this. After my napkin had 120% dried, I went with my X-Acto knife through the little ridges that are here, like tracing down through there, just to separate that napkin from the edge so it's not sticking there, because I want it to have a planked look, like a shiplap look. So what I did is just cut it with my X-Acto knife, but you have to make sure it's 100% dry. If not, it's going to tear that napkin. Then I went over the top of my whole picture with the Mod Podge. And then I took a piece of cardboard from an Amazon box and I painted it with my Antique Waverly Wax. But I only painted it because I'm going to put this behind my picture and I don't want you to be able to see that box. I just gave it a real quick coat and then I wiped it off with a baby wipe. Now, I don't want the sides of those popsicle sticks rounded like that, so I just took my tin snips and I cut the ends of them off. And this is after I had already used my X-Acto knife. Everything was totally dry, and I just pulled the pieces, took the pieces apart and pulled that piece off the back that I told you that we were going to pop off later. I used that first one that I cut as my example so I would know exactly where to cut all of my pieces off at. And after I cut, I gave everything a really quick little sanding on the end. After I had everything sanded down and ready to go, I just simply laid everything back the way that I wanted it to go and evened it out so I would know where to glue it down, and then I just glued it all down to that piece of cardboard. After I had everything glued back down, I took some of this sheer red ribbon that I purchased at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to place that right on the very edge because it's not totally even on the edges. So I wanted to hide the edge, and I laid that sheer ribbon down, and then I took that beautiful like lace looking ribbon from the Dollar Tree and just laid that right over that sheer ribbon, and oh my gosh, it was so pretty. My biggest dilemma was trying to figure out what to put on the top of this. I had first put these two stems, and I didn't really care much for the way it went. And this is how the crafts evolve as you go along. So here we're just making a little messy bow, and all you do is take a bunch of different types of ribbon. You make an X formation and you tie it in the center. Now I knew I wanted the messy bow on the top, and I was like, it just doesn't look right with this. So I finally settled in with this gorgeous, gorgeous red ribbon. It's really thick. It's like 2.5 inches thick. And all I did was wrap it over a couple of times, and I'm just going to pinch it in the middle to make a simple bow. Now I did this 2 times and pinched those 2 pieces together to make one larger bow. Then I just took some jute twine and tied it in the middle. I had already pulled that first pick off that I didn't like, and then I took this eucalyptus stem that you get from Walmart. I laid one piece over to the side, and look at this beautiful pick that I got from Walmart. They're $1.48. It has this old rusted bell on it, and I absolutely love it. It's my favorite pick that Walmart has. And I'm just going to lay that over the top of that eucalyptus. We're gluing everything down, and then I'm going to put that large red bow kind of off to the side. I still just was not satisfied with the way this looked, so I was like, what am I going to do? And I started playing around, and I laid that messy bow right on the top of that great big bow, and I was like, that's it. That's the look that I was going for. That's how these things evolve. Sometimes one thing doesn't work, but another thing will. Now here, I am just dovetailing the ends of my ribbon. I took about 20 of my beads that I get from Amazon, and I just put them on a string of jute. I did not paint them or stain them or anything. I wanted them plain the way they were. I tied 2 simple knots in that. We're going to flip our sign over, and we're going to glue those knots down, plus put a piece of masking tape, and that is what's going to make our hanger. And that's all for this sign. I was so pleasantly surprised with this, and I think it came out gorgeous.
It's the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared.
For DIY number 2, I had purchased these paint stir sticks off of Amazon. Now, they don't have that little curvy top, which I liked, so you get a whole 12 inches of just a straight stick. Okay, so I took 2 of them, and I'm just going to go down, and I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to glue one up. We're going to make a Christmas tree. Now, I started off with 12 inches, and then I'm going to go up to 11 inches, 10 inches, 9, and I go all the way up to 1 inch to form a Christmas tree. This one was super simple. I just measured out, and I just cut with my little miter shears each size. And like I said, I started off at 12 at the bottom. I went all the way up at 1. I took one of these Dollar Tree little cutout stars, and I'm going to place it at the top. And I take my green aged pine paint. It's a primer and a paint. And I'm going to paint this green. This is a folk art acrylic paint, but with that primer in there, I felt like it only needed 1 coat. And Plaid had sent me this paint called Treasured Gold. And it is a gold color. It's very vibrant. I painted my star with that. And I'm going to take my antique Waverly wax and just do the trunk of the tree. I'm going to apply it and wipe it off with that baby wipe. I wanted my tree to look kind of rustic and farmhouse, so I just kind of used my little distressing brush and went all over this tree with my Waverly antique wax. I got some lights from the Dollar Tree that are these gorgeous stars. I think they're so pretty, and I just wrapped it up around the tree in a motion like you would put tinsel on, you know. And then I just taped that little battery pack to the back. Now, I put 2 of my tumbling tower blocks together because we're going to put this in the front and the back of that trunk to make it stand up. And I just went over it just very lightly with my antique wax. I put some on a baby wipe and wiped it on and back off. I glued 2 of those blocks to the front of the tree and 2 to the back so it would be freestanding. And then I took my Mod Podge and I went over these words that says peace from the Dollar Tree. They say if you put the Mod Podge over it, it will help paint stick. And then I went over it with my white Waverly chalk paint. Then when it was fully dry, I went over it with my Mod Podge once again, and we're going to put some of this Dollar Tree faux snow on that word, and it turned out so pretty. I placed the word peace kind of sideways on my sign, the same way that those lights go in an upward motion. Then I took a little bit more Mod Podge and put it over the word once again and added a little bit more faux snow. Then I took my Mod Podge along the sides of the tree, along the little ledges, and added some faux snow because it kind of looked like the snow had fallen on the tree. This one was really easy to make and turned out so beautiful, and I wanted it to be kind of minimal like this, and I love the way it looks. With DIY number 3, I took some more of those jumbo size paint sticks that come from the Walmart. I took about 6 or 7 of them, and we soaked them fully in water for about 15 minutes. This one came about totally by accident, but I'm so happy that it did. My husband was fooling around and started kind of whittling at one of these wood sticks, and we noticed that when you flipped it off and you can put those sticks together, it made the prettiest little Christmas tree. And you can also take one stick and just make your cuts in it to make it look like a little Christmas tree. Whittling is an old world country craft that you don't ever hear of anymore, but us country folk and mountain folk definitely know about it. You just take a piece of wood, any kind of wood, and you go in a down motion and kind of flip it out. But look, when you flip it out at those curls, how beautiful those are. And when you put them together, it makes the cutest little tree. So I got the idea to take this shadow box that I picked up at the thrift store for $1, and we're going to place a piece of paper down over it. And I picked my gray paper that has the snowflakes on it. It was just shy of the size of the back of this box, so what I did was just cut off kind of little odds and ends and put it together with my glue stick so you could make it fit and you'll never see any lines in it. I like to get little wood pieces off of Etsy, and I found this cute little barn. Look how tiny that is, and it was only like 50 cents. Now I'm going to paint it red, and I'm using this Waverly color called Lacquer. A lot of people say they can't find this, and I only found it one time, but it is a darker red than the crimson, you know. So I just painted the bottom part of my barn with the red. I'm painting the top part brown with my antique Waverly wax. I'm going to wipe it off with a baby wipe, and then I just use that baby wipe to color 2 of my trees. And I want you to look how cute these trees are. This is what I was talking about, where you just make a point and then you make little cuts all in it, and you can make any kind of shape and size to your little tree. I did 2 of them brown, and the other 2 I painted with that aged pine by Folk Art. Then I pulled out my black slick paint. I absolutely love my slick paint. It reminds me of the puffy paints from the 80s. And anything that you want to highlight, which I highlighted some things black, like around the barn. And then I used my white slick paint to go around like the little X's in the doors. Anything that you want to highlight, it absolutely makes it beautiful. Now, I have this in my Amazon cart in case you guys want it. That's where I purchased it at, and I got like 5 different colors. I went all over my little trees with my white slick paint to make it look like snow had just fallen freshly on the top of it. And I didn't forget my barn, because snow's going to fall on that too. I went and got some of these stickers. Now, these came in that pack of cardstock that I get from Amazon, and I picked the one that said Merry Christmas. And I always start off in the middle of my stickers because it just makes it easier to place it right. I put the back in my little shadow box, and I added a little string of my favorite fairy lights that I had got from On For You, and those are in my Amazon cart too. And then I just placed one of my little pre-made bows up in the corner, and then I thought I'm going to stick a little pine cone in the middle, and she's done.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, spend my time running.
I want you to look at the detail in these trees, how adorable they are. You can see every single cut. All right, guys, let's swing into number 4. I have 3 of the 5-gallon paint stir sticks, and I have them cut in a small, medium, and large, like at different lengths. And I'm just going to paint each one all around, inside, outside, upside, downside, with my white Waverly chalk paint. Then I took the other piece that I had, and I cut it just in half, and I'm going to paint it with my mineral Waverly chalk paint. Now, what we're doing is making a family of snowman, and I take Daddy Snowman and just a little scrap piece of fabric to make him a toboggan. I rolled the front of it up, and then I'm just going to wrap it around, and I'm going to glue that in the back. Then I cut off the little bit of excess that I had, and I went up about halfway and I tied my jute twine so we can tie his little toboggan together. And I decided to cut just a little bit off the top because I'm going to cut little strips in it to kind of make it flip out. Then I wanted to make like a little cuff on the top of his toboggan, so I just used a little spare piece of yarn, cut a piece of it off, and glued it right to the top. Now for Mama Snowman, I wanted her to have one of those Russian style hats that are those big boofy hats, and so I just took that piece of yarn and just kind of wrapped it in a circle up at the top. I cut a piece of white fluffy yarn to make it a little ball on the top. And for the little baby, I did the same thing that I did with the daddies. I just cut off a piece of scarf that I got from the Dollar Tree. I made a little cuff in the front. I wrapped it around and glued it in the back, cut off the excess, and then I went about halfway up, took my jute twine, and I tied it. And now we're going to make another little fluffy white ball in the very top of his, just like I did for the mom's. So I cut another little piece of that fabric off and just stuck it right on the top. I wanted the whole family to have like some little embellishment on their little toboggan. So I took just a tiny little piece of pine, and I'm going to stick it on Mama's first. And then I took 2 little berries from these pick berries, and we're just going to stick them on there. Then I took one of those tiny little light bulbs that I bought at Hobby Lobby a few months back, and I didn't know what to do with it. They look like the old style 80s light bulbs, and I just stuck that on her hat. I kind of did the same thing for the babies. I've got him a little sprig of the pine, and since he's a little boy, I just stuck a tiny little pine cone in there. And then for the dad, I wanted his to kind of look manly, so all he has is just a little sprig of pine. Now, I took 3 of those tiny little shavings where we had sliced those trees up a while ago, and these are going to be their noses, and I just used my Arteza paint pen to color each one orange. So I started putting together their faces, and I started off with giving each one their little noses. I took my black slick paint to make their little eyes. Now, I am no artist, so with the daddy, I just made him little dots for the eyes and then his mouth. Now, with the babies, I wanted him to have these big, beautiful, huge eyes, you know, like a little baby. And then with the mama, I wanted her to have kind of like she's got makeup on, or kind of like, you know, almond type eyes. And so that was how I put together their little eyes. And then I took my white paint from my slick paint and just made little dots like the light glistening off their eyes. Then to make my snowman freestanding, I took those 2 paint sticks that I painted mineral, and I glued each one of them with one of those in the front and in the back. I put baby in the middle and mama and dad on the sides. I got some of those cedar picks that I had purchased off of Amazon, and I stuck one sideways and then one going the opposite way. I didn't want too much, but I wanted a little something down beneath them. And then I put 2 pine cones, very small ones from off a pick from Walmart, just down in the middle. And then I felt like they needed a scarf. So I just cut off a piece of each one's material that I had made their hat with, and I just wrapped it around their neck. Then I took this white eucalyptus that I had got at the Dollar Tree, and I just put a couple sprigs on each side. And I added a few little bells. And I took a pick of red berries that I had got from Dollar Tree, I believe, and I just put a few little rogue berries here and there. And then I took one of the bottle brush trees from Dollar Tree and stuck it in behind and in between the daddy and the baby. And you can't have a tree without a star, so I put the star on the top of my tree. And I have some tiny little snowflake ornaments that I got at Dollar Tree, and I just kind of put them on the front of the scene. And that's all for this sweet little snowman family. Our last one is definitely my favorite. We're going to do a reverse canvas and we're going to make a Santa sign. I believe that this is a 12 by 12. So what I do is go on the outside of the staples with my knife, and then I'm just going to pull my canvas away. Now sometimes when you're pulling that canvas away, you may pull the picture apart there, but all you do is put a little bit of glue in there and stick it right back together, and it's just as good as new. We're going to take our antique Waverly wax and we're going to go all around our picture frame, inside and out, front and back, and we are just going to wipe it off with a baby wipe. It is a 12 by 12 frame because I used 12 of these paint stir sticks and each one of them is an inch long. So that's how I know. Now I took my white Waverly paint and we're just going to paint each one of these white. Then I took my picture frame and I'm just going to give it a quick little sanding, and then I'm just going to start taking my sticks and gluing those down to my frame. It's unbelievable how easy this is for how beautiful that it turns out. So when I had everything glued down, I took this bag that actually had a Santa picture that is separate from the bag. They had it like they had that foam tape on it holding the picture on, and it's a round picture. So I just took that picture up and I very lightly glued it to the middle of my sign. This Santa bag is from the Dollar Tree, believe it or not. Then I took 6 of those teeny weeny little bottle brushes, and I'm going to glue 3 on each side of the Santa down at the bottom. And then I'm going to take my little embellishments that I get from Amazon. It's those tiny picks that you guys just love. And I'm just going to place them kind of going in opposite directions. I took a little bit of white chalk paint, and I'm just going to kind of dab it in and out in those pine cones on the trees. And then I'm going to go all the way around the picture, kind of like I'm dry brushing it. Then I very, very lightly sanded it with my little sanding sponge. Then I took one of those little embossing tools that you get from the Dollar Tree, and it just has like a little tip on it. And this is sped up really, really fast, so it shows you how slow I went. There was a ring around the Santa, and I used my black chalkboard paint to go all the way around that ring to highlight him. And then I used some black chalk paint and that little embossing tool to go in between each of these planks so that they would really stand out and be seen. And that was it for my Santa Claus. He was probably one of the easiest projects, and he turned out to be the prettiest, or he's my favorite. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and did get some good inspiration. Now, don't forget to give me those thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And if you stuck around all the way till the end of this video, thank you so much. I love you guys. Don't forget the bloopers. I could just hear the people at the Walmart right now. That large lady that stays in the craft aisle all the time is heading to the paint sticks section again. Stop her now! Like, you gonna stand in my way? I will eat you guys. I mean, come on. Anywho, but just in case you have never been to my channel before and you don't know what the silly theme song is, let me tell you. So, because I didn't have a truckload of bloopers for this week, I figured I'd show you a little video of what my family Christmas is like. I absolutely love Christmas when all my Tennessee family comes over to my house to visit.
Well, I was hoping that at least I could come over to my cousin Kathy's house, and that way I could get away from Gladys for a little bit, but that didn't work, did it?
Ain't Ethel? I don't understand why you and Gladys can't just get along. I mean, all y'all do is fight. You've lived together for a long time. You ought to be over it by now. I mean, good Lord. You in your 80s. You figure one of you's gonna take a dirt nap real soon, so you might as well get over it.
I can only hope that it's Ethel that goes first, because good Lord knows I'm still young and beautiful. I've got things I've got to do. You gotta make me laugh. You're so silly. Boy, y'all gotta be the smartest people in Tennessee.
Yeah, right. I mean, Frank drug me out here. I didn't want to get out of the bed, but figured I might as well come and see my kinfolk up the mountain ways. Now, look, if y'all can't get along and act like decent humans, then I'm not coming back up here to this place, because all we do at Christmas time is sit around and fight.
Yeah, we never fought till Gladys stole my 6th husband, Jimmy Joe, Bobby Joe, and JoJo's daddy. But now they're separated, so that's what you get, Gladys. I never wanted your old husband, Ethel. He came to me. It's not my fault that I'm gorgeous in my youth. I just love you guys so much. Every single Christmas is like this.
We're going to start off with this little craft kit that I got from the Dollar General. I paid $3 for it, and it's a nativity scene. It's got Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus, and it's got like this little track where the rest of them stand on. So you can stand them in different places where they don't have to be like side by side. And it looks more 3D. It's really a good deal for $3. So if you can find these, you need to snag it. Each little wood piece is probably about 5 inches tall. But the little piece there that is the stable is probably about 10 inches tall, close to a foot tall. so it's a really good deal. It just needed to be sanded down a little bit because it had like little hairy pieces kind of the wood sticking out everywhere. But for $3, I'll sand it down. It's no problem. After I got everything sanded down to my liking, I'm going to use my DIY paint in the color Vintage Linen, which is my favorite off-white color. Now, DIY paint is clay-based, and I absolutely love it. And I wanted these to not have full coverage. I wanted them to almost be like a little stained. I barely went over these, kind of like dry brushing. And then I started using my little mister that has the water in it. And I just kind of misted a little bit of water and then lightly painted it to give it like a whitewashed effect. I ended up doing all of them this white look, but I didn't color that little track yet that you set them on, and I didn't color the star just yet. I'm going to use this paint that I get at Walmart, and it's by Folk Art Metallics. It's called Color Shift, and it's called Bright Yellow, and y'all, it's bright yellow. So we're going to do our star that color, and it's almost like iridescent. When you move it in the light, it like shines, and it's just a beautiful paint, and it's really cheap. I took my Waverly Antique Wax, and I put some water with it in a bowl, and I just created a very light stain. And anywhere where I went over with this stain, I went right behind it with the baby wipe, because my vision for this was for it to be very neutral. I didn't want anything to have like full-on color. I just wanted it to have almost like a hint of color. Everything except for that star. I wanted that star to be bright and for it to kind of be the focal point, you know, right over the baby Jesus. But that was just kind of my vision, so I went with it. And I used this stain pretty much on every single piece that went to this little nativity set, except for that track that everything stands on. Now, do y'all remember last week, if you was with me, I did 2 of those little boxes that I got at Southeastern Salvage. Well, this is the bigger one of the boxes. I paid $6 for it. I don't know if you guys have a Southeastern Salvage around you, but they're normally like building materials and they have stuff pretty cheap. And that's where I got this at, and I thought it was a great deal. I'm going to use the home decor color that's called Rich Black. It's my favorite black color because it's so black. It's beautiful. And I gave this thing 2 full coats all over, inside out, all around it. Then I took a piece of black foam board that come from the Dollar Tree, and I just laid it on the back and kind of traced it out with the little tool that I have so I could see where I needed to cut. And then I just cut it off to the size that I needed. Then I just took a few little glue beads with my hot glue gun and just kind of went all around the back, just enough for this foam board to stick, and it really doesn't take much. Then I took the little stable that has Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus, and I put a little bit of hot glue around the bottom of it, and I'm going to put it to where it's high enough where you can see it really well. I needed a little height inside my box, so I'm going to use this piece of scrap wood. It's probably about 1.5 inches thick, and I'm going to lay it down in there. And I just am testing out these lights if I'm going to use them yet or not. And they are my favorite ones that are those little string lights that are on the wire. And I like them on the wire because you can maneuver them the way you want. I put a little glue down in the bottom and glued that scrap wood down. And I'm going to get my lights exactly where I want them and use this electrical tape to just kind of tape them where I want it. Then I put some hot glue down on top of that piece of scrap wood, and I'm going to glue my track down on it. And I already had my track with the people exactly where I wanted them on there. I took this roll of raffia that I've got, and it's just like a big long strand of it, and I cut them off in probably 3 to 4 inches, well, different sizes really, and I put it down all around these guys and in behind them. I'm going to put down some glue and put some on the bottom to create the floor of a barn that's just full of hay. And I just cut off any parts that look scraggly or that were sticking out of the box too much. I went on the Cricut site, and on their part under phrases, I found "Unto us a child is born," Isaiah 9:6, and I absolutely love the font. It's exactly what I was wanting, and so I just measured my little box size there, and we're going to do that in white. I've been using this HTV Ront vinyl that they sent me, and I really like it because it comes in separate sheets. You don't have to cut the roll off and stuff, and it has a little area up at the top where that makes it easy to peel off. I'm really liking the way that this looks so far, but I'm going to put lights in the top. So here I'm pointing to a hole that I've created in the back. I'm using these little wired lights that I like so much, and I'm just going to tape them to the back, and the only part that's going to be sticking through is going to be the light, so it's going to look like stars. I tape my battery packs onto the back, and I put it in a way that where whoever buys it, it's easy for them to change the batteries out. I'm using glue dots, which I absolutely love. I've just started using these things, and they're so much easier to fool with than tape. And I put it over where I made the hole so that the little light don't pop back through. And so I just put about, I don't know, 6 or 7 lights on each side of the manger. I also took a black Sharpie and just kind of went around each of the characters in this scene just to make them pop out a little bit more. Let me know what you think about this first one. It's finished. It's the true meaning of Christmas right here.
Come to the water where you will find peace. Take a step into the river. Get down on your knees. Come to the mountain. Well, take it in the view. You will find that life is greater than you knew. When you go through the storm, I will hold you, keep you warm. When you stay in the night, I will shelter, I will fight, I will fight.
I am so glad that you came to give me a chance and spend some time with me today. I would love for you to subscribe and become a part of our family. And if you would, hit the like button because it really helps me out on YouTube. Now let's keep going. I'm going to take some Waverly Antique Wax and I'm going to paint this board. Now this is just a piece of scrap wood. It's probably about an 8 by 11, maybe an 8 by 10. And it's probably about 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. Now, if you see what I'm doing, I'm just basically putting this antique wax kind of heavy in the middle, and then I'm using that baby wipe and the moisture in that baby wipe to kind of rub it out and feather it out. And I did this to the sides and to the back of the board all over it. It's going to be a stand-up shelf sitter for my booth. I Googled Christmas music and I picked The First Noel, and all I did was print this out on cardstock. Now I wish I would have had some cardstock that was a little bit thinner because this one was that real thick cardstock, but it's all I had, so it'll work. And I'm just going to go around it, and I'm very easily and carefully just kind of ripping it because I like that look. I'm going to use my DIY liquid patina. Now this is the exact same thing as Mod Podge, or the same idea as Mod Podge, and I'm going to use a good thick amount of this, but only because my cardstock is so thick. So I just put it down and I laid my paper down. When it had dried, I took my JB Ranger Distress Oxide in the color called Gathered Twigs. It's a kind of a light brown color, and I like to use it to distress with. It's a stamp pad, but it's really good to distress with. I kind of went around the edges. I like to use my finger to rub stuff in, and get it shaded exactly how I wanted to. I even used a little bit of water from my little squirt gun and just kind of helped to rub it in and make this look like an old, torn, forgotten about song. Then when that's dry, I go around the top and do that whole part with that liquid patina. I'm going to use my transfer book that's called Christmas Valley from IOD. I absolutely love this book. It's got some of the prettiest stuff inside of it. And I knew in my mind that I wanted something on here like a little bird and some branches. So as I was flipping through, I came across this perfect little brown bird that I thought would look great on this piece, and like some little holly twigs. But look at these beautiful red birds. I am so enraptured by red birds right now. It's not even funny. And I have some amazing projects coming up with red birds. So you just take this off of that white backing and you lay your transfer on whatever project you're wanting to put it on. And they send you a little tool that you just rub it with while you're pulling up that little piece of plastic that it was attached to, and it just comes off on whatever project you're putting it on. Now I take these few little random pieces that I put up at the top. It's like little pine needles and a little pine cone, and that's where I want to put my bird at. And that's another reason why I like the IOD stuff, is because you can put different pieces to create your project, and I really like that about it. My friend Lori at Milton's Daughter is who I get all of my IOD supplies from. Matter of fact, she sells all crafting supplies there: decoupage paper, rice paper, paint, you name it, she's got it. And I'm going to leave her information in the description box below. It's www.miltonsdaughter.com, and if you use the code CraftyCathy10, you can get 10% off. So I'll leave that down below. And now I have all my transfers on, and we're going to use some polyacrylic. I just went over this one good time with the polyacrylic. I went all over this whole thing, and it's going to seal it in. And then when that was dried, I gave it one more good coat on the front. I bought these small little bows off of Amazon, and I'll leave the link in my Amazon store below. I really like these because they're smaller than the ones that I usually use. And you know I'm going to put a button right in the middle of that. I chose a very small little black button, and I thought it looked good because you could put it right there on the side of the paper. It's sweet and simple, but it says so much.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It's the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees.
Now we're going into DIY number 3, and this is my favorite of this whole video. I got this little cone at the Dollar Tree in the toy section. I took it outside and I spray painted it black. Now you can use it this color, but it's possible that every once in a while on this you can see that little yellow color peeking through. So just spray paint it or paint it black. This just takes a few simple ingredients. You need some smaller pine cones, which I got mine outside, but you can get this same size at the Dollar General for $1 for about 12 of them, and they're already frosted. And you're going to need a lot of glue sticks, and you're just going to need a couple little embellishments at the end from the Dollar Tree. So let's put this thing together. You're not really going to see the edges that are around this, but I like to cut just the little tippy end of it off, just in case. As long as it still can stand up on its own, you're fine. And you see I didn't cut off much. I start off with, I'm using all small pine cones, but the ones that are a little bit bigger, I try to put those on the bottom. But honestly, it doesn't matter because when this is finished, it all goes together. I had forgotten when I started this that I like to put tape down so that I will have something for it to stick to. If I just stuck it in there where all those holes are, there's a chance that something's not going to stick good and it's going to fall apart. So I just take little pieces of masking tape and put it all over it so we've got something to stick to. Now, this is the easiest thing in the world to make, y'all. It just takes a little bit of time and patience. It's very easy. All you're going to do is take a little bit of hot glue, put it on the back of your little pine cone, and you're going to stick it down. And then you're going to make a row all the way around that first little bottom portion there. And you see, you don't have to really be careful. If you feel like there's going to be a space in between one or something, it's okay. It's no big deal. Just put them side by side, and I'm going to show you how to fill this in when we're all finished. This is just a repetitive process. You're just going to put your pine cones in a row all the way around, and then when you go to the row up above it, you're going to try to put those pine cones almost in between the two that are underneath it. So you try to put it right there in between those two, and you just keep going all the way around to your next level. And then you're going to do the exact same thing on that level above it. You're going to try to go in between the two pine cones on the row underneath you. And so here I'm pointing out where there is a little bit of a hole right there, but it's no big deal. We're going to fix that. Don't worry about anything like that. Just get all your pine cones on there is the main objective right now. Then you're going to go all the way up your tree. I didn't show the whole thing, but you're doing the exact same thing all the way up. And when you are done, this is what it should look like. We're going to use these small berries, and they are just the regular red ones, and they are excellent. This is what we're going to fill in some of those holes with. If you notice, there's holes all in this thing. They're not huge, but all you do is cut just the edges of the wire off, and you're literally just going to put a dab of hot glue in there, and we're just going to stick it inside those holes, and it's going to cover it up perfectly. Put as many as you want or need in there. You can put one, or if you need a little bit more space, put a couple more. It doesn't matter, just as long as you fill those gaps all around the best to your ability. Now, you don't have to do all of the little holes with the red berries. I did stick a couple of those little small pine cones that come from the Dollar Tree, those little teeny ones. I would stick those in areas also, but I lost that footage for some reason. But you just stick those in the holes. You can't even tell that there's any difference when you're finished. So I went all over this, and I added those tiny pine cones, and I also added those red berries. And then we're going to use one of these bows that I got from Walmart. They're the little pre-made bows that I absolutely love. And I'm just going to put this right on the top. I clipped off the little back. It's like a bread tie. And I am just going through the different little tiny ornaments I have. Instead of a button, I'm going to use this little angel ornament, and I'm going to put her right in the center of my bow. Then I'm simply going to take and put some hot glue underneath the bottom of my ribbon and also on the very top of my tree, and I'm going to glue that down and secure it really well. And then I'm simply just going to dovetail my ends of my ribbon. I've got one of those little square box things from the Dollar Tree. I'm not sure which one it is. It's probably from the fall. I popped the little backing off of it, and I peeled off the front part, and I took it outside, and I gave it a few coats of a matte black spray paint. Now we're just going to use some Type Bond wood glue and a little bit of hot glue, and we're just going to glue our tree right down on top of this little platform. And I've got a little candle holder here at the side, but I like it better personally without the candle holder, so I wanted to show you pictures of both. Let me know what you think about this one. I made one of these for a festival last year and sold it for about $35 or $40, I believe.
For the children above all, then you know it's Christmas, 'cause Santa's on his way. We'll stand under the mistletoe, and then it's Christmas Day. The joyful times we witness forever stays with us. Soon Rudolph hears his whistle and gathers all his friends. When Santa and his missus wraps the final gift, you know it's time for Christmas for each and every one.
Now we're on our very last one. And guys, this one is so super easy. I've got 2 rolls of burlap. I got one at Hobby Lobby, the black and white checkered. The other is from Walmart. And we're just going to make a simple swag. Okay, it's a garland. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. All I'm doing is scrunching, and I've ran a needle or a thread through a big needle, and I'm just going to show you what I do here. I just scrunch it up with my fingers, and then you just simply run that needle right through the center there. And I do about 10 pieces at a time just to make it easier. Now all we're doing here is making a simple ruffled garland, but it is so pretty when it's finished, and I really like it when you use both of these rolls of 6-foot burlap. I'm just making this for my booth. If someone wants to buy it, they can, but it's just going to be hanging up in my booth for Christmas. You can embellish these any way you want, and they're always pretty. But see how easy this is? You just scrunch it up with your fingers, and then you're just going to simply run that thread right through it. And then I'm going to go all the way down until I finish both ends. When I get to the very end, I just tie a few knots so that it will hold itself together. And I do that on both of the ends of my garland. Now I just used a couple of these little ornaments that I got from Walmart in a package, and I've got 3 snowflakes, 3 reindeer, and 3 of the little red truck. You could use whatever you wanted to embellish this, or you don't even have to put anything at all on this. But I thought it was really pretty to have like a couple of little ornaments hanging off of it. So all I'm doing here is painting them. I painted my snowflakes white, my reindeer with the antique wax, and then my little red truck. I'm just going to take some of the red Imperial from Home Decor, and I'm just going to paint my little truck with that color. And then some of them had a Christmas tree in the back, and I painted it green. Then I just took some of my little hemp cord that I get from Walmart, and the ones that I needed to pop a hole in, I used my little crocodile and I popped a hole in it. I just tied that ribbon through each ornament and then tied it to the string that was in the middle, you know, where it's all folded up at the top. Now I did them probably about, I don't know, 6 inches apart, maybe a foot apart at the most. And yeah, about 6 inches apart is what I did. And I went all the way down through here, and I just tied them onto that string up in the middle there that I have everything hooked together with. And when I finished with this, that's pretty much it. I didn't have anything to display this on because it wouldn't go right on my fireplace. So I literally hung it from the post of my bed, the headboard of my bed, so that you could see it really well and how pretty it is when it's there. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm going to put this right across the front area of my booth, and I think it's going to be really pretty. Guys, if y'all stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm so thankful and proud that you came to spend your time with me today. And don't forget, if you're coming over from Misty's channel, please hit that subscribe button and stick around and stay with us. And if y'all will, please give me a thumbs up, especially if you enjoyed this video. And I love you guys. Until I see y'all next time, God bless you and your family, and I will see you soon. No hillbillies are harmed in the making of these bloopers. It's simply a glimpse into Kathy's Tennessee family, meant to bring joy to those that love Cousin Bobby Joe.
Hey there, everybody. It's me, Cousin Bobby Joe, Kathy's beautiful, adorable, talented, singing, stars in my eyes cousin, all the way from the hills of Tennessee, baby. And guess what? You know my Vienna Weenie commercial and the Spam commercial that I made? Boy, it has went viral. I told y'all I'd be going to Hollywood and getting out of these hills of Tennessee. I'm gonna make something out of myself, y'all, okay? So anyway, I wanted y'all to be a part of this big moment in my life, because today I am going to be receiving an award for my grand commercial for Vienna Weenies. Now, y'all stick around, because my cousin Kathy, the one that gave me this here channel so that I can skyrocket to Hollywood, she is going to be the one to give me that award. And what a better way to get an award than for my cousin Kathy, who gave me her channel, that I can just show my appreciation to her. So, Cousin Kathy, now what was that you said you had for me? Now, Kathy, you listen to me right now, honey. I have told you, do not be egging my daughter on, okay? We all know what the truth is. Now, you shouldn't be doing stuff like this because, come on. She ain't no star. Just be honest with yourself. Bobby Joe, shut your mouth. I birthed you and I can say what I want to say. I brought you into this world and I'll take you out.
Aunt Ethel, don't be mean. There is nothing wrong with me and my subscribers giving Bobby Joe this award. Now, that Vienna company hasn't exactly promoted her yet or paid her, and we just want to make her feel like, we just want to show her how golden she is and how she will skyrocket to Hollywood. I really believe that. So, Cousin Bobby Joe, we want to give you this award.
That's right, Cousin Kathy. Give me that award. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I just don't know what to say. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who has gotten me where I am. And thank you, Cousin Kathy, for letting me use this YouTube channel to show Hollywood what I'm made out of. I always knew that I was destined to get out of these hills of Tennessee and make something of myself. And that's exactly what I've done. Now, this is just the first step. You know that I'm still waiting on Johnny Depp's people to call me any day, because I will be the leading lady in his next movie, since he's just all the rage. And I just know they're going to call me, because after this commercial, who wouldn't want Bobby Joe Womble to star in the big movie that's going to be the big box office hit? I cannot wait until I see my name in stars. And all these people's going to say, that old thing, boy, I thought she's never going to get out of the hills of Tennessee. If she can make it, I can too. Just like Dolly Parton, I'm going to be a rags to riches movie coming out about Bobby Joe Womble. baby. And by the way, shout out, Dolly, because I know you're watching, baby. I know all of America saw my Vienna Winnie commercial, and I know that you watched it, and I know that you said, look at that girl. She come from Tennessee just like I did. I bet she has a coat that was made by her mama from all different rags, and now she's gonna hit the big time. And you're right, Dolly. I do have a cousin that found a coat that looked like that at Goodwill. Nobody took the time to sew it for me, but you know what? It's still the same kind of story. Yeah, Dolly. And I want y'all to know that even though I did the commercial for Vienna Weenies, I still consume them. Now listen, like I said in the commercial, if you don't have time to run over a possum on your own, and so you ain't got no possum stew at home, the next alternative is to get you some Vienna Weenies. I didn't just do it for the money. Well, I actually didn't get paid because they said that, well, we'll just talk about that later, but I didn't get paid yet. But it's gonna blow up. I'm so excited. And I'm so glad that all you kind folk are here to see me receive this award. And we will put it on the Walk of Fame. This is the stupidest bunch of mess I have ever seen in my life. I don't know why that Kathy would egg her own like that and get her hopes up. My Bobby Joe's always been a special little girl. But you know what? She ain't no star. And she ain't coming out of the hills of Tennessee, baby. She's married to that stupid old Buford. And I just told her not to get married because it will ruin her career. But anyways, my goodness, I'd rather break my arm than talk about anybody in any kind of negative way. But you know what? Our cousin Kathy, you just gotta watch out for her because she tries to give people dreams and hopes that I feel are just, I don't know. I don't know about her. I don't know about her.
So anyways, I'm glad that my cousin Bobby Joe got her grand award and that all you guys were a part of it and got to see it. We will stay tuned to see how my cousin Bobby Joe makes it to California one day and to the big time. I love you guys and I will see you very soon. God bless you and your families. Hey there, my name is Crafty Kathy and I am so happy and thankful that you came to spend your time to craft with me today. Let's jump on in. Sabby is introducing our first DIY of the day. In today's video, I'm going to show you some super easy DIYs that I make for just a couple of dollars. I think I might have about $2 in this first one, but the rest of them, I got supplies at one of those Amazon bin stores, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I wanted to make a simple riser. I have this piece of scrap board, and it's 1.5 inches thick, and it's 1 foot long. And now I did get these feet from Hobby Lobby, and they were half off of $3.49, so that's like $1.75, and that's literally all I'm going to have in this very first craft. All I did was take this scrap piece of board outside and I sanded it down pretty good. I just eyeballed where I wanted the feet at, one in each corner. I put a little E6000 on each one and I put it down where I want it. I flipped it over and placed heavy objects on the riser and just left it alone overnight so that it would harden. The next morning when I came out, my riser was perfect and ready to go. So I put a little bit of antique Waverly wax in a little container. And I just added some water from my little water mister to make a stain. I added on my stain with a paintbrush. Just very sloppily just added it on there, and I didn't add a whole lot. And I went right behind it with the baby wipe to kind of wipe off the excess and feather out that color to get it the way that I wanted it. Can you believe that we were going to throw this piece away? It was in the burn pile. It was just an old junk piece of wood. And look what a beautiful piece of decor it's turning out to be. Another place that comes to mind where you can get free wood is places where they're building homes. They'll just give you their scraps. And also Lowe's will either give to you or deeply discount stuff that they consider destroyed, but it only has a few minor imperfections. Now you'll notice I went over the top one more time, and I went a little bit more heavier on the feet and on the sides. And let me just take a quick moment to welcome you, especially if this is the first time you've ever been to my channel, but also if you're a returning subscriber. I'm tickled pink to have every one of y'all. After I got it the color that I really liked, I decided that I was just going to leave it alone and let it dry by itself. And I left it alone for an hour or two so it could soak up that stain. Now, the top part wasn't totally dry, and we need it to be. So I took my heat tool and I dried that part off because we're about to do one of my favorite things, which is decoupage, baby. I got this gorgeous decoupage paper from my friend Lori over at Milton's Daughter. Did you guys know that she sells other supplies besides paint and things like that? Just pretty much anything you need for crafting, Miss Lori has it. And I'm going to leave her link down below in case you guys need to go and get some supplies. Now, most of her stuff, she gives my viewers 10% off if you use the code CraftyCathy10. But with the decoupage papers and the paint, the distributors don't let them discount these, so she's not able to do it on these decoupage papers, but they're so cheap, they're just a couple dollars a piece and well worth it. I basically just laid it out because I only want it on the top, and I used my fingers to kind of press it down so I could see where I needed to cut to get closest to the sides around that little riser. I just cut it out where I had pressed it, and then I'm just going to lay it down and make sure that my position is exactly where I want it and get ready to do a little decoupaging. So I'm going to use my DIY liquid patina, which is pretty much a lot like Mod Podge. It's just a little bit thinner and I like it a lot better. And I put a little bit of a thicker coat than I normally do because on the decoupage papers, you want to make sure that it's going to hold on there and get a good grip. And you can always pick these decoupage papers up and move them, unlike a napkin. You know how easy a napkin can rip. Well, decoupage papers and rice papers don't rip as easy. And guess what, guys? You don't get wrinkles. So, I mean, they are well worth a couple of dollars that I spend for each one. When it was good and dry, I just went around it with one of the sanding sponges from the Dollar Tree. I'm doing that to just get that little excess that's kind of hanging over the side, because remember, I only want this on the very top portion. I also very, very lightly went over the very top so I could give it a more old and vintagey look. And then when I was finished with all this, I'm going to seal the entire piece in with Big Top by DIY paint. So counting the decoupage paper and all, I have right under $5 in this DIY. And I plan to sell it between $18 and $22 in my booth. Let me know what you think about this first one. I love it.
It's Christmas. The fire crackling gently all the while. Snow is falling down. Guess everything's just right. But I'll be wishing you were here with me. Everywhere I go is Christmas.
With DIY number 2, I'm going to start out with this old crate that I've had for a long time. I got it at a thrift store years ago for only $1. Now the paper's peeling off of it and it looks really rough, so I took it outside and sanded that paper down to where it was just barely anything left. And I just spray painted it with 2 coats of just my white Rust-Oleum Ultra Matte ×2. And then I just kind of lightly sanded it back over to get out any imperfections. I'm going to use some stencils that I got last year off of Amazon. I always get the ones that are 12 by 12 because they're just easier to make signs with. And here's the one that I picked to go on this crate. It says Fresh Cut Christmas Trees, Holiday Greens, Cut and Carry, Pine, Spruce, and Fir. Now, I don't think I used this one at all last year because it still looked brand new. And the only part that I can fit on the side is that part that says Cut and Carry and the picture of the Christmas trees. So I've got my DIY paint in Gypsy Green, which is my favorite green color. And I have my favorite little stencil brush. It's my favorite one. I use it every time. It's important to have a good stencil brush. And I'm just going to do my trees green. I like to use my DIY paint when I'm stenciling because it's clay-based and because it's thick. So you don't get any bleed through, if any at all. And if you just have just very little bit on your brush and you do this pouncing motion, just tap, 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 then you're not going to get any bleed through. Now the part that says Cut and Carry, I just did that with my rich black, and it is by Home Decor. It's a folk art brand that you can get at Walmart. I really like this black color. It's like dark and almost velvety. This is what I'm actually using for the front of the crate, and on the side of the crate where it has the two little slats, at the top part I'm going to put in the Gypsy Green Holiday Greens, and then in black I'm going to do the words Pine, Spruce, and Fir on the little slat underneath that. I went to one of those Amazon bin stores this past week, and I got there on their dollar day. I found each of these trees for $1 a piece. They originally came from the Target dollar spot for $5 a piece. Now, I'm not sure why these were in the Amazon bins, but I noticed several things from Target in there, so I think they got last year's Christmas leftovers. And hey, I'll take it for $1 a piece because these are gorgeous trees and they're flocked and they're really pretty. Now, these Amazon bin stores are popping up everywhere. I noticed that Do It on a Dime did a story about them the other day. They start off on one day where it's like a certain price, and each day the price goes down. And it's new inventory every week. So you could either pay somewhere between $14 to $7 on your first day, and then go all the way down to like 25 cents on your last day. At my store, there's nothing over $7, and it goes down to 25 cents. So I got there on the dollar day, and I was very happy to find these two trees. They were the last two they had, or I would have purchased more. So I just put a little bit of hot glue down, and I'm going to stick my trees down so that they hold one kind of front and one in the back, almost kind of catty corner where you can still see both of them. I am so happy that I stopped in on that store the other day. I mean, something just told me to stop in and give it a go for a minute and just kind of look around, and I am so glad I did. I had to fluff the trees out a little bit because they were in bags. And then I took two of these little pre-made bows that I get from Walmart. They're the black and white buffalo check, and I'm just going to put two little black buttons, one in the middle of each one. And I'm just simply going to use the back of these. It's like a bread tie, and I'm just going to tie it around the very top of the tree and twist it 1 or 2 times, and then cut off the remainder with my pliers. Then I took some white pillow stuffing that I had, and it's actually like down feathers and stuffing. I didn't have any of the fluff that, the fake snow stuff, so I used this. It's just as good. And I put it down in the bottom, and then I'm just going to take one of my picks that I got from Walmart, and first I put down a couple little pine cones in there. Then I take the little pick that I got from Walmart. It was $1.28. I kind of put it a little catty corner in the side, And then look at this cute little reindeer I got for 98 cents at Walmart. I'm going to set him right up on the top, and I'm actually going to glue him down by his little feet so he will stand up on the side of the box. It had a little wire underneath it right in the very center, and with the little gentle pull, I pulled that right off. And then I'm going to take some Mod Podge. All I had was gloss, but that'll be fine. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to put it underneath the reindeer and add fake snow from Dollar Tree to make it look like he's standing in the snow. And I like that so well, I ran it all the way along that rail where his feet are at. I also added a little bit of Mod Podge in different spots on these trees, and I sprinkled fine white and clear glitter over the top of it, just so when it hits the light in a certain way, it's going to look like snow glistening, and it's very little. I got this ornament from Walmart in a pack of like 12 for I think $3 or something, and it's silver bells, or it's actually bells, and I painted it silver. And then I have this little snowflake that came from the Dollar Tree, and I painted it silver. And I put a little bit of the Mod Podge and the glitter on those also. At Christmas, you can never have enough glitter. Then I'm taking some of these small berries. They're the little red berries that came from the Dollar Tree. And I just clip the little wires off the back of them. And I'm simply just going to glue them just here and there on both of the trees. So I only have $3 in this DIY. If you count up all the little embellishments, maybe $3.25 or $3.50. And I plan to sell this for at least $20, probably more around $24. Let me know what you think about this one.
Brightly shining. It's the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth.
For the last DIY, I'm going to use this canvas print. I got it at a yard sale for only $1. It's probably about a 16 by 20, but it may be just a hair bit smaller. I needed the front part to be white, and I was in a hurry, so I just took it outside and used my Rust-Oleum ×2 matte white, and I gave it a couple coats. And the frame part was originally kind of a golden color, and I don't do any gold much at all, so I used the rich black and went over the frame with 2 coats.
Led by the light of faith, serenely beaming, glowing heart.
I'm going to use those same Christmas stencils that I was telling you that I had from last year. This one says Jingle All the Way, and for the word jingle, I'm going to go over the top of the frame, and I'm going to use my Imperial Red by Home Decor. And here I'm just using one of my extra little stencil brushes. And just in case you want to know which ones of these stencils that I have, I've got them in my Amazon store under stencils. Then down the left-hand side of the canvas, I'm going to do the words all the way in that rich black color, and I'm using that same stencil brush. At the Amazon bin store, I found this deer head, and this actually was from Hobby Lobby, and it had $5 on it, or $4.99 was the price on it, but of course I got it for just $1, and I'm painting it that rich black color. So I suppose that this little Amazon store that I went to had Amazon leftover stuff, but they also buy out stores if they don't sell all their product. I took 3 of those wood rounds that come from the Dollar Tree that come out in the fall, and I'm just very quickly painting the sides of these with the rich black color. And then I'm going to take those and I'm going to glue them to the back of this deer. the 3 of those, because I want my deer to stick out from this sign and be 3D. So then I'm going to just glue him down right under the word jingle. I took a pick that I got from Walmart for $1.28. Well, first I stuck down this little piece of cedar, and it's just a scrap. And then the little pick that was $1.28 from the Walmart. And I glued them down, but they're also going in between those little wood rounds, so they will be held really good. I took one of my little pre-made bows that I got from Walmart, and I already had a button on it because I was going to use it for a different DIY, but I never did finish that DIY, so this is perfect for his little bow tie. I think at most I have about $2 in this one, and I plan to sell it for $24 in my store. So let me know what you think about this one and if you like it. I hope you guys got some value out of today's content, and it helped you to see some different ways that you can think outside the box to keep the cost of your DIYs down, especially if you're reselling them, because you can make better profit that way. So don't forget to join me on Tuesdays and Fridays at 6:30. That's when I'm doing my Christmas videos every week. And don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you as part of my family. And if you would, hit that like button, because it really helps me out on YouTube. It pushes me out there in front of other people that haven't had the chance to see me yet. And it really helps out my channel. So I love you guys so much, and I will see you Friday with a good video. God bless you and your family. So I got this little box at Goodwill. I paid $3.99 for it. When you open it up, it's a little shelf. So all I'm going to do is just get this label or the sticker off the back and get it cleaned up and ready for a good painting. I gave it 2 coats of my favorite off-white color, which is Vintage Linen by DIY Paint. And y'all know that is my favorite paint. It's clay-based, and it just is absolutely amazing. It's good coverage, and I don't show myself painting this whole thing, I don't think, but I gave it 2 good full coats. I've had a lot of people tell me that they absolutely love the IOD transfers and molds and stuff, but they just can't afford it right now. So I'm going to show y'all a very affordable way that you can make beautiful decor. You take you a $1 bag from the Dollar Tree. Now, any picture on the front that you want. I just love the red truck. So I cut my bag in half, and then I'm going to open that little part up at the top where the little handles are, and I'm going to cut that away so you don't see those 2 little holes that are up there. And I cut kind of as close to the picture as I possibly could. I'm going to lay it down on the front of my little box here, and I used my fingernails and just to make like a little indentation to show myself where I needed to cut it at. Now I took my little rotary cutters and my little mat, and I can see perfectly right there where to cut it at, and it makes a great straight line. You can use scissors or whatever. Lay it down on there, and I'm going to use the DIY liquid patina. It's kind of like Mod Podge. It's a little bit thinner, and I actually like it better. But use Mod Podge, Elmer's glue, whatever you have. The bag will stick. So you just put down your liquid patina, and you see the top up there did try to curl up on me in some little spots, but I just kind of held it down until it dried enough to grab a hold. And then after it was totally dry underneath, I sealed it with another layer of the liquid patina. I also used my little brayer to roll out any wrinkles or bubbles, and to be honest, it really didn't have that many. The biggest problem I had with the bag was the little areas up at the top, like I was telling you, they kind of wanted to curl down, but I just held it until it dried enough to get a good grip on itself. Now I did use 2 of the little stamps that came from the IOD stamp that's called Blitz, and it says Christmas and Comfort, because Christmas comfort to me is just like you're out in the country, you got your little old vintage truck in the front. Man, I mean, what else would you want? Some snow? Come on. I thought that was beautiful. If you don't have the stamps, though, you can always use those stickers that come from the Dollar Tree. Paint them black if you want them black or green or whatever. I used a little dauber and put a little bit of that vintage linen off-white color that I painted that with and just kind of went around the bottom, dabbing it. And that way it would kind of look like snow coming up on the sides. It just kind of brings the picture in a little bit better and makes it look more natural to me. And since I already had my black archival ink out, I just put a little bit of it on the end of a paintbrush because I wanted this little knob to be black. I wanted it to have a little bit of a different color, you know, than the rest of it so that it would kind of stick out some. So I literally painted that with this black permanent ink. Any areas of the paint that I get a little bit too thick or what have you, I just go around it with a little bit of a sanding sponge and it comes right off. Plus, I wanted it to be sanded down anyway. I'm going to take this color called Rich Black. It's a chalk paint by Home Decor Folk Art. And I just lightly dry brushed and rubbed across the top and all around the inside just to kind of give it a distressed look. And I like the way that the black looks with that. And I like the way that this looks so well. I just went around the whole box and distressed it in that same way. And I just now realized I have one of those little pre-made bows up at the top on the left side. Now, I got these at Walmart. They were like $5 for, I think, 24 of them. And at Christmas time, I like to get little pre-made ribbons that's already made. All I have to do is clip off the back, which is like bread ties, clip it off and pop it on with a little hot glue. It's easy and quick, and it's nice to be able to cut corners sometimes when you can. And of course, I put a button in the middle of that bow. Let me know what you think about this first one.
Everyone knows that Christmas should be white. Bing Crosby got that right. Oh, but I'm in Copacabana, tanning up for Santa. But I'm getting on a plane, a boat, or a train. I'm setting a new course, bearing straight due north. Santa, hold on.
Now for DIY number 2, I am going to use some of the IOD molds. I've got the one that's got the reindeer on it and the little bells. And I've also got the one that's got all the different snowflakes on it. And I like to use the DIYS clay. I get it off of Amazon. It is in my Amazon store. To me, it's really easy to use. It's buttery soft, and it's a good price. And so you see how easy these molds are. They have like a little lip over the sides of them. So when you push that clay down, it just basically makes it's so easy. And I'm not going to show you the whole process of me doing this, but all I do is just put a little bit of cornstarch down first because it helps it to not stick. Then I put my clay in the little molds, and then I pop it in the freezer for about 15 minutes, and it just hardens it up enough to where it will pop right out of these things when you're done. And I've got these little hanging boxes. I got these from Southeastern Salvage. I don't know if you guys have one in your area. They have like household supplies, building supplies and stuff really cheap. They were $4 a piece, and then I got a bigger one for $6. I'm going to use my vintage linen, which is the off-white color. And I'm also going to use Gypsy Green, my favorite green color. And I'm going to use this black again from the Folk Art Home Decor. All I'm going to do with the black is just go around on mainly the edges and the sides, like where I would want black to be showing through the paint, and just kind of paint it just really haphazardly and just kind of throwing it on there. And I'm also going to take a little bit of wax. You can just use an old cheap candle. It doesn't matter. And I also go over those areas where I did black. That way that paint is not going to be apt to sticking over that black part right there. And it's going to come right off and show through and distress the way I wanted to. Now I painted one of my boxes the vintage linen color. And the other one I'm going to paint that beautiful gypsy green color. And also, when I painted these, I really didn't give them like an all-over color. I guess the best way I could describe what I'm doing here is like a very heavy-handed distressing. Because you know when you do like a dry brushing and you do just very, very little? Well, I did that, but I did it kind of heavy where only a little bit of that wood would be peeping through. And a little bit of the black is even peeping through in some areas. And all this is going to do is just kind of save me a step and making the distressing not so much to have to do. And after I had my molds in the freezer for 15 minutes, I just wanted to show y'all how easy these were to pop out and how much detail these things have on them. I guess that's why I love IOD so much, is because I know I'm never going to be disappointed. It's got so much detail and it's so beautiful. But these just turned out absolutely gorgeous. And when I'm doing my molds, I just go ahead and fill that whole tray up. Even if I'm just going to use like the reindeer off of it or whatever, I go ahead and fill it all up because I can always use the rest of it at a later time. And I don't have to fool with making it, you know. So I go around with this little Cricut tool. You can use a credit card or anything. And I'm just kind of scratching the areas or kind of rubbing over the areas where I put that black. Mostly just around the edges, and so that black will peep out even more. Then I take all of my little molds and I went ahead and painted them. I like to use either like the antique wax color on the deer, or sometimes I use truffle. It just depends really on what mood I'm in. And I absolutely love this gold color, and it's made by Folk Art, and it's called Metallics, and it's a gold color, and it's really pretty to use at Christmas. It kind of gives everything a little bit of a sparkle. I went over my deer with just a little bit of the color Mineral, and I just dry brushed that on there. And dry brushing just means when like your brush is literally just barely has a little bit of paint on it, you are dry brushing it on there. I'm going to use my Type Bond Quick and Thick. It's a wood glue, but it really helps these molds stick excellent. And I just go over it and I rub it in with my finger. You can use a paintbrush if you don't like to get them hands dirty, but it don't bother me. And so I just put it all over my little reindeer and put him exactly where I want him to hold at. Then I have this little piece that came out of a little pack that I got at Dollar Tree. And it's really just like a tiny little piece of the greenery. And it had one of those little red shiny bells on it, or little shiny balls on it. And I added one of the little pine cones that comes in the pack at Dollar Tree. And it's the little bitty pine cones. And I wanted it to be snowy, so I took that vintage linen that I had left on that brush and just kind of brushed over it so it would have a snow effect to it. Then I'm going to take two of the little snowflakes that I have, and I actually like to distress over them with this gold color because it brings out, I don't know, I just like the way it looks. And it's got like raised areas and lower areas. And so I just go over that raised area with that gold color, and it's just like it brings something so pretty to me. And so I just stuck one in the front and behind the little reindeer. And I took one of my little bows, and these are one of the little bows that I got from Walmart that's pre-made. I dovetail the bottoms, and you see what I'm talking about. It's like a little bread tie on the back of it. I twist it one or two times so that it's going to stay together, and then I just cut that off, and then I just glue that at the very top, kind of catty corner on my little box. And if y'all know me, you know that I'm a button girl, that's my little finishing touch that I love to add to my DIYs, especially if there's a vintage theme. There's just something vintage to buttons to me. And I just put one right behind that pine cone, almost like it was standing up. Then I added a green button up there to my bow. Then I moved on to the next box because I still wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do to finish that one. So I took one of these little wood pieces from the Dollar Tree that says Season's Greetings, and I just know I'm going to be using a lot of these this Christmas because I absolutely love the little wood pieces from the Dollar Tree. They're a good price and they're easy to pop on a DIY. I just gave it a good color of crimson, and then that is the Waverly Crimson. And then I'm going to stick it right in the front. I'm going to add 2 little buttons, and I got these buttons at Hobby Lobby. They're red and white striped, and I thought they were so adorable. Now I'm going to take these little gingerbread, and I got these from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use Dixie Belle's Voodoo Wax. It's the exact same thing as the antique wax. It might even be just a little bit darker, but I wiped a little bit of it on there with the paintbrush and then wiped it off. Then I took this little craft pen. It's white and it come from the Dollar Tree, and I just made a little squiggle across his forehead and on his little arms and legs to make it look like icing is on him. And then I go around the gingerbread and make like a little, like a dot and a line, like he sewed all the way around him. Then I took one of my Sharpies, and it's the little pointy end Sharpie, and I gave him some eyes, and they're just basically round dots. I also drew a little smiley face on there. Then I went back in with that white pen again, and I gave him little white dots on his eyes, and also to make little cheeks and 3 little buttons down the center part of him. And I'm going to put 2 of these little gingerbreads, one on each side of this sign that says Season's Greetings. Now I have a total of 6 gingerbread, and I went ahead and did all of those the same way with that brown gel stain. And I didn't draw anything on these though. I just left them plain brown, and then I just kind of wiped off the excess of that gel stain. Then I'm simply just going to take my hot glue gun and put 3 on each side of this, and I did them in catty corner ways so they're not just straight up and down. I thought that was cute and kind of gave it a little added touch. They look like they're running like the gingerbread man does. I added one of my little red and white pre-made bows to the center of this. And I stuck another one of those little buttons in the center, the little red and white striped ones from Hobby Lobby. Now this is the next day when I had figured out what I wanted to do. I did change my bow to a red and black one up in the corner there. I'm going to take some of these little balls, and these came from Dollar General, but you can get these at Dollar Tree. It's the little small, little ornament looking balls. And I just took fishing wire and tied it to 3 of those. And I used glue dots. And we're going to glue these to the very top of this little box. And that way they're going to kind of fall down and look like they're little ornaments hanging. I thought that was the cutest idea, and it just came to me all of a sudden. So I had to run out to my craft room and finish this box for y'all. So I did 2 red ones, and then I did a gold one in the center so that it would match those gold snowflakes. This is the first time I've ever used glue dots before. I want to say I got these at Walmart. It may have even been Dollar Tree. I don't know. But they're simply just little, literally glue dots. If you've never used them before, and you peel it off with your finger almost like a sticker, and I just popped it right up there, and it held these little ornaments perfectly. So I hung all 3 of those at different lengths. And I also took a pine pick that I got from Walmart. It was like $1.28, and it's just a plain little pine pick. And I laid it inside the box. And that little Christmas tree that's inside the box is also from Walmart for 98 cents. Now, you can get these at Dollar Tree, but they're a little bit cheaper actually at Walmart. So I bought a green one and a white one to go in these little boxes. I think these are adorable, but we need some lights. I took some little string lights that I get off of Amazon, and I'll leave the link for them down in the description box. There's probably about maybe 30 little lights on each little strand, and these are easy to use when you have a small project. So all I did was just unwind it. I took my little tree out and I wound it around the Christmas tree so that it would have lights that kind of shine out. And then I just put the rest of it around that little pick that I put inside the box. I didn't really put it in there in any special way, just wherever it would fit, that's where I stuck it at, because there's actually a lot more lights on there than what I needed. And I'm just going to glue the little battery pack on the back of it, and I glued it in a way to where if you wanted to change the battery out, all you had to do was just unscrew the little back part and pop the little battery that goes in there right out and put another one in. Now that's always important to me because you know I sell these in my booth, so I want to make sure that people can change the lights out if they need to. Now let me know what you think about these. I think they're precious.
The feeling is here today. Come on now, let's go. Caroling through the snow all day. We've been good, but we can last. Hurry Christmas, hurry now.
We're already going into our last DIY of the day, and this is really going to impress your friends. I took an old mailbox post, which is a 4x4, and we cut it 30 inches long, and all I'm doing is screwing a 7x7 into that 4x4. The 4x4 is the tall one, and the 7x7 is that square block on the top, and I'll put all these measurements in the description box. Now I have a 10x10 square on the very top here, and it's also 1.5 inches thick, and I had put 4 screws in it, and I had to back them out because I didn't get them totally straight, so I'm just going to screw these 4 back in there. The screws that I used are 2 inches long. And so what I'm doing essentially is making this one whole piece. This bigger one is actually going to be the bottom. And then it's going to be 10x10 on the bottom, then a 7x7, and then that post. Now on the very top here, this one is a 6x6. And it's only 1 inch thick. And we're just going to put 1 screw into it to hold it down. Now here I am inside my craft room, and we're going to paint this. I'm going to use rich black, and I'm just going to do like I did on the boxes. I'm going to hit the edges, and I'm just basically kind of doing a heavy dry brushing. I hit the edges or anywhere where I might want a little bit of black to show through. And if it makes it any easier, you can see the very bottom of that. That is the 10x10, and then that second layer is the 7x7 down there that I'm painting now. And then that's the post on top of it, the mailbox post, and that was the 4x4, and then on that very, very top was the 6x6. I'm actually going to put a topper on all this to make it look like a little mailbox or like a little sign, and I will glue the top part on though. So anyways, I just wanted to show y'all. I didn't show myself cutting it, and I'm sorry that I didn't do that, but I mean, cutting wood is cutting wood. I just wanted you to have the measurements, and I wanted you to see here how sloppily I'm putting this black on. Literally, I'm just putting it on all the edges and corners. Now here, I noticed that I really did like the way that black looked. So I was going a little bit heavier than what I intended to. First, it was just the corners and edges, and then I kind of added a little bit here and there kind of in the middle of the post, and just, I mean, it was really haphazardly. There's no rhyme or reason to where I put it. I just did what I thought would look good. Anywhere where I would want black to be peeking through. Now here's just a quick recap. I don't want to go too fast. I want you guys to be able to see. But when I'm done painting, do you see how I did? I just basically dry brushed it mostly on the corners and edges. I did add a little bit of the black there in the centers, anywhere where I would want black peeking through. And you don't have to use these exact measurements that I used on the top, on all the different pieces. It's just what I had in my pile of excess wood. Here I've got my candle wax. And remember I said you can just use an old, I'm so graceful, y'all. An old, just junky candle even. You just need the wax. And I'm just going around the corners and the edges mostly. Is anywhere where I don't want that paint to grab onto. In case you're wondering, the reason why I kept turning around and talking to the camera is because I was going to talk during this part, but this little episode here of me waxing this went on for like 20 minutes, so I just sped it up a little bit. I used a brush that was kind of fanned out almost, and I'm going in with my vintage linen, which is my favorite off-white color, and I'm going to slow it down just a little bit so I can literally show y'all how I slap this paint on here. I do like a very thorough dry brushing.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining.
And I'm going to bring the camera in just a little bit closer so you can get a better view up close of what I'm doing here. I think you'll be able to see it a little bit better and actually see what that wood looks like up close. But as always, paint it the way that you want to paint it. I just really like the way that this looks because to me, it looks like an old mailbox post that's been out in the weather. And at one time, it was beautiful and white and pristine. But over time, it's just kind of, you know, weathered down to this look. And you'll notice some areas I get a little bit better coverage than I do in others, but I'm actually purposely doing that. Now we're going to focus on the bottom part, and I'm going to fix the camera so you can see that a little bit better. But I kind of do the bottom just the same. I get a little bit better coverage down there, like cover it a little bit more. But you see the basic shape of this. Like I said, I used a 10 by 10 and a 7 by 7 on that bottom, but you don't have to use those exact measurements that I do. This is just what was in my wood pile, and I do think that you need around a 10 by 10 on that bottom because you want it to be thick enough and strong enough where it's not going to be knocked over or I mean, for some reason, if you was to put it outside, you don't want the wind to blow it over. Although I don't know that anybody would have a stocking hanger outside. But you may want to use it as just like a regular little pole and put up a little sign on it, you know, that says Santa stop here or whatever. You know, you may not want to use it as a stocking hanger, but that's what this one's going to be. Now here I am outside. I have a 1/2 inch spade bit in my drill, and I'm just going to make a hole in my post. And my dowel that I'm going to use is a 1/2 inch thick. And so this is my dowel here. And I think I went in about 1/2 inch inside my pole here. Now that spade bit that I'm using, all it does is create a hole in your piece of wood. And I wanted it to be the same size as my dowel. And like I said, my dowel is a 1/2 inch. And I think I go in, like, pushed in that bit about 1/2 inch so that it would hold in there by itself with just wood glue. I really hope that this is making sense, but I think you guys are probably like me. You learn mostly by sight anyway. Even if somebody is a fumbling fool and not really making a lot of sense, you can kind of gather what they're doing. Now, I have one of those little tabletop saws that I got from Amazon, and it's linked in my Amazon store. They're about 50 bucks, and my dowel was 3 foot long, and I cut it down to the size that I wanted with my little tabletop saw, and I'm taking my black paint and giving it one coat. Back outside, I've got my Titebond Quick and Thick. It's a good wood glue, and I'm just going to put it around the edge. And you see about how far down I'm going to be putting this, and that's probably about how deep I made that hole with that spade bit. I'm just going to put a little bit on the end and rub it in, and then I use Starbond glue that is the medium thick, and it happens to be a black color. I put a little bit of it on a paintbrush and put it all inside that hole, and then I use that accelerator to spray the dowel itself and stuck it in there. So I actually have the Starbond glue holding it on and the wood glue so that it will dry and be perfectly hardened. Now, these are the only hooks I had. I got these off Amazon, and I'm making pilot holes so that I will know where to put my screws at. All I'm doing, if you can see through my hair, is I am holding up exactly where I want that hook at, and I'm going to make 2 little pilot holes with my little drill. Now, I did this all around this little pole on 3 sides. The side where the dowel is going to be sticking out, you could put a stocking underneath it if you wanted to, but I didn't. So mine is going to hold 3 stockings. So in other words, I put the 3 little holes for the hooks all the way around except for where the dowel is. After I made my pilot holes, I just hold my little hook up with the screws, and then I'm actually going to screw it in this time. And it holds 2 screws for each little hook. And before I forget to mention, the inspiration for this piece came from LF Rustics off of TikTok.
Ta-da, ta-da,
I even embarrass myself
ta-da.
sometimes. So I have this Merry Christmas that came from Hobby Lobby. It was normally $4, but it was half off, so it was only $2. I wanted to do this instead of the traditional way that I've seen other people. They make like an actual little wood sign that says Santa stop here or whatever. I could have done that, but I didn't want to fool with the Cricut, to be honest with you, or anything else. I thought this will be easy, this will be simple, and it will be pretty. So I just cut all of my jute twine off of this, and we're going to paint it really good with that rich black. And I certainly had enough wood where I could have made all that. But like I said, I've had a rough week, guys. My daughter's been sick. I've been sick. Just common allergies and cold and that kind of thing. Nothing, you know, crazy or anything. And it's been just a busy, crazy week. So I kind of wanted this to be as short and sweet as I could get it. But get to the point where y'all could see how to make these. Because they are so beautiful. I am back outside again, and I'm going to show y'all how to hang this. I just used this cord that I get at Walmart, and it's called hemp cord, and it's black because I thought that would look good instead of just using jute. You can use jute, but I thought that this black looked really good, and it went with the color that I did the Merry Christmas. And so if I move my arm, there we go, you can actually see I just tied it around the M and the Y in the word Merry, and then just tied a couple of knots in the top to hold the little sign up. Then after I tied it, I kind of slid it over so it would be exactly where I wanted it to be. I didn't want it sticking out too far from the end of that dowel. I had these 2 pine picks that came from Walmart, and I think they're only like $1.28 a piece. My plan was to put these, like, butt them up, just like that, and I'm going to take tie wraps and wrap them together. So after I butted them up, I took my first tie wrap and put it kind of in the middle of both of them because I thought that would give it the most stability. and then I added the other one, and then I just cut off the little excess there that you don't need after you tie your tie wrap. And this bow that I have is a bow that I had already made. And it is just a messy bow. And it is literally 3 pieces of ribbon made in a crisscross. That's all it is. I have the red and black buffalo check, and then a brown and white one, and the Merry Christmas in the front, the smaller one. And then, of course, my button in the middle. Now, like I said, I just made an X with each of those to make a very simple, messy bow. And I'm just hot gluing that onto my bow, or onto my picks, so it will be one solid piece to put over the words Merry Christmas. I'm going to be selling this stocking holder more than likely, so I wanted it to stick on there and not come off. So I used some more of that Star Bond medium thick glue. That's the black. I just kind of brushed it on the back and then used some of that accelerator on the dowel itself. And I also used a little bit of hot glue and held it on there until it was stuck. Now this very last step is super easy. You can take anything you can find or don't have to use anything at all. But I found a piece of a chair leg. That's all this is. I cut it off and I wanted it to be on the very top to look like a post. So all I did was take my rich black paint and I painted this, and I gave it one good coat all over. Then I simply just took my Titebond wood glue and my hot glue and used a little bit of both of them, because that way I got a good permanent hold for later, and the hot glue will give me a hold right now. And I just stuck that right down in the center, right over that nail, or the screw, I'm sorry. So let me know what you think about this one. It's not hard, but there's a lot of steps.
Oh, it's Christmas time. I feel sad, I can't help it. Got you on my mind. I don't know how to cope this.
Hey, if you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you. I am so thankful and I'm so happy to have you here with me. I want you to subscribe so we can become crafting best friends. And if you would, give me a like, because that really helps me out on the algorithm here on YouTube. And don't forget, my videos are every Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Before I share my bloopers, I have to show you guys my booth. A company called Adlon that does lighting sent me these lights at the top I've got up here. They are amazing. This is 96 foot of lights, and it made such a difference in my space, and it brightened it up. Now they're giving a coupon code. If you put in Kathy20, you will get 20% off of any of their stuff, their lights, whatever. But I'm going to leave their link in the description box below. Please go check them out. They are amazing. It really made such a difference in my booth. I'll see you guys soon. God bless you and your families. I love you.
Am I on? Am I on? Okay. Whenever I come down out of the mountains, my mama always told me to try buying a weenies. Oh, okay, I got it backwards. Okay, like that. Okay, I got it now. These are better than possum meat, and they go a really long way if you don't have time to run over a possum on your own. So, I suggest that you try these good old Bina wieners. Oh, weenies? Okay, Bina weenies. I always called them Bina wieners. Is my commercial over? Huh? I'm not saying oh. Really? Okay. Take 2 on Armor Bina weenies. Even even though it says sausage, it's wieners. So, anytime my mama said when I come out of the mountains, I go for these Vienna weenies. If I don't have time to run over a possum on my own, these are the second best thing to possums do, and they last a very long time. So I suggest that you try these Vienna wieners. And guess what? I just know that Dolly Parton and Loretta eats these. I just know it. I know that's not in the script, but you know, if I say it, then everybody's going to come and try to eat Vienna wieners because Dolly and Loretta, hello. Shout out, Dolly and Loretta. You know I love you girls, and I know yous are all watching. I'm headed to Hollywood. Well, I just wanted to come on here and let all of y'all know that the great Loretti has passed away. I have been crying my eyes out, y'all. You know I love Loretti, and I'm always doing shout-outs to her. And Kathy's even named her chicken Loretta after her. You know we love her. I mean, there is no better story than a poor old girl out of the mountains that made it big and went to Hollywood. I mean, how do y'all think that I got my ideas? I wasn't born this smart. I mean, I probably was, but the first time when I seen Coal Miner's Daughter, I said, that's me. That's gonna be me. I'm gonna do that too. But you know what? I will get there someday. But right now, I just keep trucking along. And I know that the great Loretti is singing in the Angels Choir. And I just wanted to say, rest in peace, Loretta. We love you until we see you again. And I just wanted y'all to hear it straight from me. Because y'all know I'm her biggest fan and all. So, anyways, we love yous and we'll be seeing yous real soon. Bye.